Okay, I'm docked here at Medana Bay Marina. I'm the only one brave enough to try one of their slips. They've got maybe 4 slips, although it looks like really maybe only 2 could be used. They're kind of used as dinghy docks, but I think maybe since he thought my boat was so small, it didn't matter. Uh, the last day was just a lot of motoring. It was a long daylight, just motoring around the side of the island. You can hear the dock going. But overall, I think it was a good passage. Not anything substantial broke. I didn't have to really fix any systems in that passage, which is kind of unusual. I'm used to like having to bleed the engine and have problems with the autopilot. Those typical problems for the past passages did not happen this time. I guess my pre-work was good. You know, replacing almost all the fuel system in the last couple seasons, and then replacing the saltwater system, and then flushing out the freshwater system. Maybe helped. I don't know. The engine was a champ and went 100 hours in 11-day passage. We finished in almost exactly 11 days, and now we're here at Madonna Bay Marina, where the prices are kind of ridiculously low compared to what we were used to in Darwin. So it looks great. And I saw the crew from Follow the Boat. I've been a big fan of their podcast. Before I created my podcast, I listened to their podcast. And I've seen their videos since then too. So check them out. So subscribe. I think it's been a good mini season. We had very limited objectives for this season, and then next season, I don't see a way to break it up, but to sail across the Indian Ocean all in one go. So to South Africa at least. Bye-bye. The divers here got my reading glasses that fell off. I was wearing my reading glasses on my hat because of the customs and immigration. I kept on reading things and then having to go this place and that place. And then it fell in the water as it was on my hat as I looked down to pull the line. But I knew exactly where they were. And the yard sent divers to retrieve them, and they were unscratched. And here they are. They're back. I got my reading glasses back. Yay! Okay, so we got there on a Sunday. We checked into the country on a Monday. And then, Marcel left the boat after we checked in. And then we hauled out on the Friday. And then I spent a lot of time hauled out. So we got there kind of early compared to my maximum time. And so I got to do a lot of boat work, including working on the generators so that one of the generators wasn't working. And also we had refrigeration contractors come out, try to a last-ditch effort to fix the fridge, which was not working the whole season. We've been just using the fridge as an ice box, which is kind of what I'm resigned to doing. I actually don't use the fridge on our RV, and I prefer just using ice, especially if ice is readily available like it is at Madonna Bay. And then offshore, then, we managed it, and it worked out okay to me that we did not have to have refrigeration to survive, and I thought that was a good dry run for the Indian Ocean crossing coming up in the season 7. One of the interesting things that I realized, like after I left Madonna Bay, was that Le Vagabond had arrived like a couple weeks before we had, and the boat that they had borrowed was, I think it was Calipe or something like that. That little green and white boat was right there, and so Riley hauled out. Elena stayed at the hotel where I did. We were right next to their boat. We just missed them. I actually, when I was I was down to my last shirt, and I was wearing my La Vagabond t-shirt when we were checking in because that was the last clean shirt I had. So I thought that was funny that it's such a small world in sailing. You just there are just a very limited number of ports, and indeed for the South Indian Ocean outside of Australia, I think there are only 3 haul out facilities outside of Australia, which is amazing, and this is one of them. All right, so we've been on the hard since I think Friday. Today is Tuesday, so maybe we've 4 or 5 days. I think you fill the amount of time that you have. I decided I wanted to have 3 days in Jakarta at a nice hotel because the hotels were not very expensive here in Indonesia. Usually things are like a third of the price here of Australia, maybe 40% of the price of the US, 50% of the price of the US. So everything's quite reasonable. I was kind of shocked by the airfares from here to Jakarta, that they were so low. They were as low as $70 to get here at kind of the last minute. I did have a week to book it, but not really planning that much in advance. What I've done is I got the second generator in service, so that's working pretty steadily. I had to put in the new carburetor. I never find the time to rebuild the old carburetors. That old carburetor actually looked pretty new. It's probably worth doing it. I do have the rebuild kits, and I could do that in a pinch. But overall, I think the more time I spend on contango, the better the kind of the season is, and this season so far was quite good in terms of contango's performance. The engine was rock solid, which is something we haven't seen for many seasons. Before this, there was the bleeding problems, which may have been related to the tank problem that we fixed, and before that we had the mount problems that was related to the shaft alignment problems, which we fixed when we got to New Caledonia before COVID. So I feel pretty good. Don't feel really good about the fact that the boats here don't seem to get the memo that you're supposed to take down the sails. So this guy next to me, he's got a million square yards of canvas on, not just his Genoa, not just his mainsail, but he's also got this big tent on. He's gonna leave tomorrow, but I guess they don't get cyclones here. Hopefully they don't get thunderstorms like we get in Louisiana. Hopefully they don't get tornadoes here, because all this. But if you look at the boatyard behind me, it's like canvas everywhere, so I don't think I can change that policy. The yard in Darwin, they just chewed me out constantly to make sure that I got the canvas off, and I was 100% committed to make sure all the canvas is off. Even if you don't have wind, I think your mainsail does so much better, especially if you're flaking the mainsail as opposed to maybe a boom furling mainsail or something like that, or a mast furling mainsail. That it just does a lot better if you put it in a bag. Otherwise you just kind of crumple it up and it looks awful for the next season if you just tie it to the boom. So yeah, we got the sails off pretty easily because there's relatively light winds here in Indonesia. I'm kind of dissatisfied at how hard it is to move around here in Indonesia. I've been taking taxis, and that's probably the best thing. You can hire a car and a driver, so which is probably advisable given how crazy the drivers are here in Indonesia. I find everybody very friendly here. very nice. I never felt like anybody was like trying to cheat me or anything like that. But everybody's very young, right? So they're like really young. So I think if the average age in Indonesia is 29 and the average age in the US is 38. Now, part of that is that Indonesians are a lot skinnier than the US. They're also, they tend to be a bit shorter than your average US citizen, and they aren't definitely not as they don't have as much extra weight. So they do look younger, but they are actually younger too. But everybody's very friendly, and the fact that I speak no Indonesian, I don't know, maybe that helps. No bosan. So Indonesian is Indonesian is the second language of most people. So it's the lingua franca among this very diverse country. It's fourth or fifth largest country in the world by population. But I've really enjoyed the people that I met here. I think they've been very nice to me. And we tried to get the refrigerator fixed. Jamps, who was the refrigerator contractor that we saw in Darwin in 2022, he said that, if you put in the wrong refrigerant, that it's going to work for like a day and then it's just not going to work after that. And that was exactly what happened. I think the issue was that Jamps he moved territories. He was not able to do the install for us. And then we got a new contractor, and the new contractor actually really screwed up. It was a good thing we didn't go with them in Darwin. They thought that we had a water-cooled system, and we definitely do not. They messed, but I was kind of confused. I had other things on my mind. I wasn't really thinking, but I was like, isn't that to the propane locker? And that was to the propane locker. So the other refrigerator contractor in Darwin was gonna install a water-cooled system, which would have really sucked, because if you're on the hard, you can't use a water-cooled system. But also, we would have had to put in a new Thru-Hull because they screwed up and they made a mistake. And there was no reason for them to make a mistake. So it was good in the end that we didn't order that. I didn't order it because I was worried about the lags, but I spent so much time in the yards and also in the marina working on stuff. I'm still kind of trying to get the rib to work. It's an 8-year-old PVC. It has been covered. It just seems like the glue is just kind of gone out. And, of course, Marcel in Darwin at the Marina Tipperary, he ripped it apart when he was supposed to untie everything and then flip it over. And he untied half the lines and flipped it over. It's kind of par for the course with Marcel there, but it basically killed it. And I probably spent $500 on glue so far. I'm using my old expired glue right now from the US, and in the hope that I bring some more over when I come back. But I kind of have lost hope for it, and I'm kind of starting to think, if I want to have a backup dinghy from the Walker Bay, which I also had problems last season, right? Almost died in the Walker Bay because the oar lock broke. I did put in a new oar lock. I hope that solution is successful. I've not been able to test it out on the water because the glue drying was not. I did it here in Indonesia and then we got hauled out, and so I didn't have enough time to put it in the water between then and the glue drying. So I probably will sleep on the boat a couple more nights, and then maybe I'll sleep at the hotel that they have here. Is very reasonable. The hotels are very reasonable because everything's a third price. And then go to the airport in Lombok, which is 3 hours away. Lombok is really slow getting around. So if you have transportation that you need to do, you will need to go to the main town of Mataram, or if you want to go to the other marina is probably a 5-hour drive, and the Mataram is a 2-hour drive, and then So you just have to just build that into your calculation. So they say 2 to 3 hours to the airport, which is kind of more on the south side of the island. This is more on the north side of the island. I decided against that. I didn't want to do the climb because I just felt it was too hot and we'd have to carry too much water, and I'd have to hire too many people. I'd have to have like all these porters, and it didn't seem very authentic compared to what we'll do in Colorado in a few weeks. So I just for a 13,000 foot mountain, which I may die on because of it's got a sketchy trail, or I get bit by a poisonous snake here. I did see monkeys here. There's a wildlife park I kind of want to see, so maybe we'll get some videos of that at some point, but maybe I won't have time. Like I say, the boat comes first, the needs of the boat come first, and my desires come second, third, fourth, fifth, and last. All right, subscribe.